7th December 1941 was the last day in history after which the world map was about to change forever. A disaster was about to strike the Navy base, the magnitude of which no one could have imagined. An African-American girl named Taurus Miller, present in the battleship, serves breakfast to the Navy officers as the sun rises, and after that, she goes to collect their laundry. At exactly 7:57 in the morning, she hears a siren, the kind no one in service ever wants to hear. She immediately steps outside and is astonished to see that the entire sky is filled with Japanese bomber aircraft. In the blink of an eye, the entire naval base feels like doomsday, as Japanese aircraft begin to destroy American ships one by one. This attack took place at the Pearl Harbor base. And today we will find out why Japan had the audacity to attack a country like America, why an African-American cook named Dar Smoller was given America's highest award, and why America launched a nuclear attack on Japan. In the Discover TV video, once again, we are glad to revisit this interesting story that begins in 1941 when the United States had committed everything it had to save China in World War II. Yes, the same China against which America now openly speaks in 2023. The situation was like this. World War II had been going on for 3 years, with Germany and Italy on one side and Britain, the Netherlands, and France on the other side. The United States was not involved in the war and was entirely neutral, as they wanted to stay clear of the conflicts in Europe and Asia, having suffered losses in World War I. But there was one country that continuously bothered America, and that was Japan. Due to a lack of natural resources, Japan had been aggressively occupying neighboring territories to fulfill its resource demands. Japan had already occupied large parts of Korea, Taiwan, and China. It also had its eyes on the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, which were near the Pacific Ocean. The problem was that Malaysia was a British colony, Indonesia was a Dutch colony, and the Philippines was a neutral colony of America. Japan's occupation of these countries was not acceptable to the United States, as behind Japan was Hitler, who was the enemy of both Britain and America. Seeing Japan's actions, the United States decided in July 1941 to cut off trade with Japan. Japan did not have its own oil and depended on America for 80% of its oil. The United States imposed a condition that Japan must withdraw from China if they wanted to continue receiving oil. This was a difficult decision for Japan, as if it withdrew from China, the world would think it had surrendered to America despite Hitler's support. On the other hand, without oil, Japan's situation would be much weaker. Japan decided it would not leave China but secretly planned to seize Indonesia for oil. However, this was not going to be easy because Indonesia was a Dutch colony, and to reach there, Japan needed to first take control of the Philippines, an American colony. Japan knew very well that if it attacked the Philippines, America would retaliate from its Pacific naval base, Pearl Harbor. However, with Japan's oil reserves running low, they had no other option but to strike. The Japanese military leaders decided to launch a surprise attack on America's Pearl Harbor base, hoping to destroy it completely so that they could easily occupy the Philippines. Japan silently prepared for the attack on Pearl Harbor, assembling a fleet consisting of 2 battleships, 39 submarines, 30 destroyers, and 414 bomber aircraft. These aircraft were sent towards Pearl Harbor on 6 aircraft carriers. On the other hand, the American forces at Pearl Harbor consisted of 8 battleships, 59 anti-aircraft ships, several submarines, and 390 aircraft. While the United States had enough forces to counter Japan's attack, they were unaware of the impending assault. Japan kept everything about the attack secret and even decided to avoid any wireless communication to prevent leaks. The Japanese forces traveled over 8,000 kilometers and were now just 370 kilometers away from Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, at 7:57 a.m., 350 Japanese aircraft attacked Pearl Harbor into separate groups. The Americans, who were completely unaware of the attack, were caught off guard. The first group of Japanese bombers rained down bombs on the base for 45 minutes before leaving. At first, it seemed like the attack was over, but 10 minutes later, a second group of bombers arrived and bombed the base again. The attack continued for 1 hour and 15 minutes, destroying 20 vessels, 8 battleships, and over 300 aircraft on the ground. After the bombers had finished, the skies cleared, and the ground was covered in smoke and devastation. During this attack, an African-American cook named Dar Smoller, mentioned at the beginning of the video, was at the naval base. While collecting laundry, Taurus heard the siren, and by the time she stepped outside, a Japanese torpedo hit her ship, wounding many officers, including the captain. Smoller moved the injured to safety and then went to an anti-aircraft machine gun to fight back. With no training, he managed to shoot down 6 Japanese planes. For his bravery, He was awarded the Navy Cross, one of the highest honors, second only to the Medal of Honor in the United States. After the attack, Japan had successfully dragged the United States into World War II, a country that had not been involved in the conflict before. The very next day, America declared war on Japan and began rebuilding its naval base. Fortunately, many ships had sunk in shallow waters and were recoverable. In April 1942, America launched a bombing campaign on Japan's capital, Tokyo. This was the first American attack in World War II, and after that, the fighting continued for 4 more years. By this time, Japan had grown weaker, but they still refused to surrender. Finally, in August 1945, America played its last card. On August 6, 1945, a Boeing B-29 Superfortress aircraft dropped the Little Boy atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The bomb exploded with a powerful blast, creating a fireball that reached up to 5,000 degrees Celsius. This was the first nuclear attack in history. 3 days later, on August 9th, the United States dropped another nuclear bomb, Fat Man, on Nagasaki. This bomb was 4,670 kilograms in weight and destroyed large parts of the city. These were the 2 nuclear bombs that the United States used on Japan, changing the course of history forever.